Her new book, The Pool is Closed, Segregation, Summertime, and the Search for a Place to Swim, will be published by LSU Press in October 2024. Welcome to us from the future, Park Ranger Hannah Palmer.
Good evening. It's nice to be with you all this evening. It's an honor. My name's Hannah Palmer. I grew up in Atlanta, but I'm visiting you now from a future version of Atlanta where the State Department of Parks and Natural Resources has created a whole department just focused on the natural resources in downtown and in our urban areas. It's called the Department of Urban Springs. And I have some slides to talk to you about this new Department of Urban Springs. So this is in the future. It's in a parallel reality where the state is investing in urban nature. And we are really focused on making Atlanta's springs visible, drinkable, and swimmable again. So you may not know that there are springs all over Atlanta. You've probably heard of them. You might have even visited a place called Powder Springs or Lithia Springs or Sandy Springs. But did you know there's actually springs that are part of those towns, part of why they were founded? And that is why the Department of Urban Springs exists, is to make them visible, drinkable, and swimmable again. So where is all this water? Did you know that you're just surrounded by hundreds of creeks right now? If you've grown up in Atlanta or you know a kid in Atlanta, they can probably show you where the water is. They've probably been messing around in those creeks. And Atlanta's this little bald spot at the high point. But all around us, there's creeks flowing out towards the Atlantic Ocean and toward the Gulf of Mexico. And we're gonna show you where those are a little bit. Now, I want to take a moment to say, this is at Lithia Springs, and it is an effigy called Frog Rock that was carved sometime before even the Muskogee and the Cherokee people were here. So before the white settlers came to this area in the 1800s, before even the Muskogee people and the Cherokee people, there were folks who lived in these areas and thrived because of all these freshwater resources. It's the reason our towns exist where they are today. And the Department of Urban Springs is here to bring back that vitality to our urban areas. So here's some photos of when these springs 100 years ago were celebrated as resorts. These are real photos of Powder Springs, Lithia Springs, Ponce de Leon Springs, and Cascade Springs. And what you notice about these places is that people weren't afraid to get down in the water. Now, in your version of 2024, I don't recommend putting your face in an urban spring. But in my version of 2024, we've cleaned them up significantly so that you can enjoy them again. These are grand resorts that were visited by presidents. People traveled from all over to take a dip in Ponce de Leon Springs. This is kind of where we are today. This is downtown Atlanta, and some of the springs of downtown Atlanta are flowing right where we are. I think I have this is Hurt Park. We're right next door. In fact, we are right on top of the headwaters of one of Clear Creek's tributaries. Now it's underground in your version of 2024, and where it's flowing is underneath all of these buildings of Georgia State, and you can't really see it until you get to Central Park, and then at historic Fourth Ward Park, you can actually see the water flowing. But these are actually springs that are underground and flowing all the way. This Clear Creek goes up to Chattahoochee River that eventually flows down to the Gulf of Mexico. So I am the current sole employee of the Department of Urban Springs. And as the only ranger, I have enjoyed taking students and tourists out to find the springs. And we're often looking at paved surfaces in the gulch or down underneath buildings, or looking this is at Walton Spring, where there's only a little plaque that mentions that there is a spring underground. You're not seeing a lot of water, but we're just getting started as a department, and we've got a long way to go. Unfortunately, downtown Atlanta, this is what water might look like. You might see a fountain that's shut down. And it kind of makes you wonder, why don't we have access to water downtown? Why are we trying to, keep people away from water? I mean, why is it that our creeks and rivers in Atlanta are campsites for some people that we're constantly trying to keep people away from this water, which is the source of life. It's a place where people might wash their hands, take a bath, fish, or maybe just experience a moment of peace and reflection. We've really kind of subtracted our natural areas and our wild areas as a way to keep people separate and exclude people. And that is deep in our history. If you look at this picture of Ponce de Leon Springs, it's pretty offensive the way that it was advertised here. It says, "No disorderly characters tolerated, colored persons admitted as servants only." So if you remember that photo I showed you of the 100 years ago, those resorts were only white people. So we made these water accessible when we could restrict who was allowed to use them. So that's another reason why the state is investing in a new version of public spaces based on water, because it's time for us to reclaim them for all Atlantans. So the text messed up here. You'll just have to stick with me that this is the site in 1864 that was an amusement park. It was called Atlanta Mineral Springs, and you can see it on old maps of Atlanta. Currently, this area is called the Gulch, and it's in a constant state of reimagining and redevelopment. And I would like to suggest that we bring back those springs. The Atlanta Mineral Springs are still flowing underneath that parking lot, flowing toward Proctor Creek. If you follow the maps, the old maps, or even those hydrological maps, you won't see the water until you get to Cook Park, which is now a massive stormwater park that's actually trying to reveal those springs again. So the Department of Urban Springs, here's our mission. We're a state-level government agency created this year to protect, celebrate, and provide access to our life-giving waters of the state, as defined by the Constitution. Here's some examples of springs around the country. This isn't science fiction, y'all. There are other major American cities and small American towns where springs are part of life. You can drink free spring water in Afton, Wyoming. You can fill your tanks here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. You can swim in downtown Austin. And in rural parts of Georgia, this is a reality as well. Georgia State Park supports spring-fed pools, and you might find, if you go to Indian Springs, you can drink the spring water. Radium Springs is a place to take your prom photos. Just trying to show you some examples around Georgia where this is a reality. And we're getting closer here in Atlanta. Currently, the city of Hapeville has a spring-fed splash pad. And Cascade Springs has the historic spring house I showed you earlier. Seven Springs is in Piedmont Park. It's a beautiful little oasis if you've never visited. So what if we bring all those ideas together where they're really needed? Downtown. We really don't have a place to sit next to a babbling brook or wash your hands. What if we brought all of those ideas here? How revolutionary would that be? It'd be very expensive. But it would be a way to make repair on a lot of the exclusion that we created in our urban spaces over many, many generations. So the Department of Urban Springs exists to try to bring back some of these ideas to a place where it really needs them. This is my Photoshop skills, where I'm bringing Hapeville and restrooms, and I'm bringing, the springs are already down there underground. It's just a matter of bringing them back where people can enjoy them again. So this is my manifesto. I think that it's a dream, but it's something everybody can imagine for the future. We have these treasures underground. Let's see how we can bring them back for everyone to enjoy. Thank you so much.
Give it up one more time for Hannah Palmer.